Fred, I thought you'd be really good to talk to with this Brandon Aiyuk thing. I don't know. Are you aware of this, that he posted the picture for practice?
Yeah, I keep seeing this, and he's weaponizing us. And who wouldn't? Like, me and BMitch know, when you're going for a contract re-up, whatever I need to weaponize to get the job done, I will. And I think he's weaponizing the fact that he has a relationship with our quarterback. And, hey, smart decision. I'm not telling him not to. Hey, the one thing we'll never do as players is get in front of another player's pursuit of his money. Now, the one thing that I have to say as a player, I like Brandon Aiyuk as a player, but I don't know if I like Brandon Aiyuk for the Washington Commanders, because when I look at him and Terry as a wide receiver, as a cornerback, I diagnosed him as the same DNA and same pedigree receiver. If I'm going to pay a receiver for this team, it's going to be somebody that's 6'5", 230 pounds like a T. Higgins, or it's going to be somebody that's 5'9", 170 that won the 4.240. Like, it's going to be the opposite of my number one that I have right now. I need something different. I like Aiyuk as a player, but do I like Aiyuk for us? I don't know about that one.
You say he's weaponizing the team. I understand that. But I think he's putting Jayden in some bad situations by all these private things coming out publicly.
You right, BMitch. Like you don't want to put that in a rookie's lap. You don't want to put that in a player that hasn't played a down in the NFL lap. Now, I like how Jayden Daniels is handling it. He's not really saying anything. He's not really combating it, and he's not really, saying, I second emotion. But come on, you don't use the rookie quarterback to get what you want. And it's one of those things where wide receivers go through this all the time, where the team think you a 1B and you think you a 1A, so you want to get paid like a 1A. Sorry, I think they're going to have to find a meeting point right at around $24, $25 million a year. I think he wants to be a $30 million a year receiver. I don't know if I would give him that, but right at 25, 23 is where he's supposed to be. Hopefully they get that done so they can get out of our business, because he's really like it's been more Brandon Aiyuk talk with Jayden Daniels than it had been McCaffrey. I don't get that.
Oh, Terry,
dude, totally. And you're right that I agree with you, B. Aiyuk is doing what he needs to do, but at a certain point, is it not to the guy that's supposed to be his friend's detriment? Like, you got a rookie quarterback, dude. Let him just kind of ease into this thing rather than because what we've learned from Jayden, I think, and I'm curious if you guys agree with this, is we had Topgolf and the rumors of him not wanting to be here, all that stuff. Throughout all of that stuff, he just kept his mouth shut and stayed below the noise.
Kept his head down and he worked. All he did was work.
Right. And now it's like he can't escape this noise, but it's his boy creating it.
Yeah, it's one of them things that damned if you do, damned if you don't. You don't want to lose this friendship, but I also don't want you, how should I say, putting a cloud over my entry into the NFL.
Yeah.
So so it's one of these things where it's a thin line that has to be walked. But I'm serious. If it was Fred Smoot coming to the NFL, I would have literally just said, you know what, it's just time to back off a little bit. Y'all handle that business, but kind of keep me out of it just a little bit, please, sir.
See, because the way I look at it, Fred, and JP and I talk about this off air, when you see that picture of just the formation, what you allow is people to start thinking why y'all were looking at that formation.
Mm-hmm.
You got players on this team that may be thinking that you're talking about who replacing which one of us. You know what I'm saying? And that causes issues that may not need to happen. So you're right. I said the same thing. It's time for him to take control over the friendship and look, bro, it's cool. I got your back, but you got to stop putting me out there.
Yeah, don't throw me under the bus. Yeah. And don't forget, my number 2 receiver, Jahan Dotson, might be feeling a certain way. But, I'm flirting with you. It's like being married, BMitch, and I'm flirting with my wife's friend. Like, no, I can't do that.
Right. And the flip side of this is there were those pictures from Oregon. It seems like Mariota put it together just because of the Oregon connection. But you had Mariota, Jayden, Robinson, Eckler, De'Ami Brown, Jahan Dotson, to your point. I think Cole Turner and John Bates were there. And it's never, whenever I see those things that somebody organizes, it's awesome whoever's there. I'm never worried about who isn't there. But, that should be the cool offseason story, not the continuing melodrama of Brandon Aiyuk wanting a new deal.
Yeah.
Well, you know what, fellas, this is to their detriment to our moving forward in progress. We stole your GM. You're running out of cash. Your tackle is the highest paid tackle. Your middle linebacker, the highest paid middle linebacker. Your running back, the highest paid running back. You got to play a wide receiver. And you got to play. Thank you. Applause to the demise of the San Francisco Gold Diggers. I don't care what goes on in San Francisco. All I care about is what's going on in Washington, and the arrows are pointed different. We're going up. They are Super Bowl or bust, so we'll see what happens. We know this, BMitch. They cannot pay everybody. We know that for a fact.
Sure.
Yeah.
Speaking of teams I don't believe you like, Fred, are you enjoying the fact that the Cowboys will be going into training camp in just a few weeks with a receiver probably holding out in CeeDee Lamb? Micah Parsons may or may not be coming to town, who's probably their best player. And, Dak's in the last year of a contract, too.
And then they got Zeke back.
So good. Yeah, they got that old lawnmower back. You know how you get your lawnmower and you work on it for a while, then it finally crank up for you, cut half the yard, and it turn off. Thank you, Zeke, for coming back. All right, listen, I enjoy what's going on in Dallas right now because it's one person's fault, and that's Jerry Jones. There's one person's fault because he has this time frame connected to his time frame, and he's do or die or bust when it comes to this team. Think about it. If I'm him, I got to take one of these guys off of my list of I got to pay somebody. And I don't know if that's CeeDee Lamb or Micah Parsons. But guess what? Both of these guys will be in the top 5 of their position when it comes to being paid. You want to talk about running out of money. The Cowboys are running out of money. They're running out of favor. And they're running out of time. Thank you, Lord.
Dude, they are in a really precarious spot because I think it's similar to Aiyuk, the Lamb situation. And I think Lamb's been better than Aiyuk, but
No, Lamb's is better. Lamb is a complete wide receiver. That's what I'm saying. Would you pay, JP, would you pay Aiyuk and Lamb the same amount, like $30 million a year? Would you pay them the same amount?
No, I wouldn't. And what makes it interesting is because of the quarterback model where whoever the next guy is up breaks the record, right? That's just what we've become accustomed to. I think receivers want that to happen, but none of them deserve Justin Jefferson money.
No, they don't.
I tell Tyreek Hill money, to be honest. You know, if you're Tyreek Hill and you're watching Jayden Waddle make more money than you, knowing that defenses really get ready for me, that will open up Jayden Waddle. Like, I want to get Reed up too, and that's the battle that the NFL is about to have to go through. Totally. We're getting to these contracts being very much NBA-sized contracts, but you can only have so many of these contracts on your team, and the meat of the team is not the first player on the roster. We're only good as the 53rd person on that roster.
Sure. And well, and dude, think about, I think, so Jefferson got paid, obviously. Maybe Tyreek does rework his deal, but when Chase comes up, I think he breaks all of it. And honestly,
he does.
Chase is probably my one of all of them.
He's got to do more than he got to do more than Jefferson, but
and
he has potential.
I don't think so. I just think he's regarded so high up there, and he's so much going to be a priority for the Bengals. Like, the one marriage they do not want to break up is Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. Like, they're looking forward to having that marriage for like 13 years. So they're going to pretty much pay him anything.
You want that to be Montana to Rice. You want to have that forever.
You want to have that forever. And whoever be your John Taylor, they could be a revolving door, how they feel.
Sure. Talking with our friend, Mr. Fred Smoot. Of course, you can follow him on Twitter at FSmoot21, Sean T. I want to circle back to something. You mentioned a guy, Luke McCaffrey, earlier when we were chatting about, what Jayden should be talking about versus what we are talking about. I think I remember you saying you really like Luke and are intrigued by kind of his potential.
Mm-hmm. I'm always intrigued by offensive guys that play multiple positions. This guy played quarterback, running back, wide receiver, return kicks. These guys, they create problems that you can't really quantify when it comes to defense, because we don't know where you're going to be lined up when you come on the field. Your chances of being all over the field are very high. And if you played running back, that tells me as a wide receiver, when you catch 5-yard hitches, you have the ability to turn this into a 50-yard touchdown, because you have the ability to break tackles from linebackers. So breaking tackles from DBs are a lot easier. He's a lot bigger than you think he is. Yes. He's a lot stronger than you think he is. And he's a lot faster than you think he is. And he comes with a built-in football IQ. And the one thing I see when I'm going over there to do my shows and do my early morning shows, if Jayden is over there at 5:30, Luke is pulling in there at 5:45. Like they're not tied to the hip. And I know if you ever want to get paid in this league as a wide receiver, tie yourself to the hip of a quarterback, and that's the quickest way to get paid. And I'm sure Ed McCaffrey told him that. Stay in his hip pocket, learn everything he wants you to do, learn where he likes to throw balls, the fade route, learn where he wants to come back, learn everything that quarterback likes, because if you do what the quarterback likes, you become a wide receiver delight. And that's what happened in this game. And I think McCaffrey he's going to move along faster than everybody think he is.
I think a lot of the talk with Aiyuk comes up because Terry has proven who he is. Jahan had a great year his first year, then he came back the second year, fell off a little bit. And then you mentioned Luke. Do they have enough talent elsewhere?
I think they do. I think they have depth in that room. And the one thing I love about the NFL is whoever was your fantasy darling last year, he's not going to be that this year. It just fluctuates. The one thing has been a constant is no matter who's Terry quarterback, I'm going for 1,000. Like, that's been there. With Terry about to play with the best quarterback he's ever played with in his career. Jahan, I love the fact he's motivated by, I had a bad year. Nobody respects me. Nobody's talking about me. Self-motivation. I love that. Luke McCaffrey, nobody even thinks that I should have been drafted. They think I got the Bronny treatment. I have to show them that I'm better than that. So, I love a roster full of guys I'm playing because I got to represent this team, but I'm also playing because this. So I like guys to be pissed. And that's what when I first met BMitch, he had a Philadelphia Eagle jersey. I almost threw up in my mouth. But the first time I played against him, he was pissed. And I was like, why is this dude so angry? And he was just angry for the fact that if we're going to play football for 4 hours, I'm going to be angry. But then he'll shake your hand at the end of the game, smiling. I said, I don't know what to do with this man.
Fred, so you mentioned Jahan there, B. Fred, I'm really curious. We can maybe put Dotson aside because that offense was just so broken last year on 100 different levels, right? But Dotson did have some bad drops, so we can't just exonerate. But the past of the last few first-round picks this team has taken, 2 of them were defensive players, Jamin Davis, Emmanuel Forbes. At this stage, Davis hadn't had the career anybody wanted. He's been better than kind of the narrative on him, but it hasn't been consistent. Forbes had a really bad rookie year. There's no way around that. How much better can this staff, you've got veteran coaches that track records of success, how much better can Dan Quinn, Joe Witt make guys, especially Forbes, considering the success they've had in defensive backs in Dallas?
You know what? I want the junkies to hear me out because I listen to them all the time and have this discussion. I want Grant and Danny to hear me out. I want all the guys on 980 because everybody has this narrative with football players is once you have a bad year, it was all your fault. Let me tell you something about parenting. It's a lot of bad parents out here that make bad kids. And let me tell you something about coaching. We're all a prisoner to coaching. My Jim Zorn years look totally different than my Marty Schottenheimer, Joe Gibbs years. They look better because I was well coached. I was well prepared. I was ready to be on the field. We had a plan of attack. When you tell us as cornerbacks and linebackers to go out there and just use your talent to win, you can't do that in the NFL. The NFL is about the pen and the paper, the chess match. What makes Belichick better than other coaches, he over-prepared his players for certain positions. When I played for Joe Gibbs and when I played for Greg Williams, I was over-prepared for the game, so we played fast. I felt so sorry for James Day. I felt so sorry for Emmanuel Forbes, watching him just be put out there, not coached, not game plan, and be treated like a dog. I promise you, what y'all about to see from them in this Joe Witt defense, they don't practice the same. They don't meet the same. I watch these guys. I talked to Defoe coming out. He's like, man, I've never been a part of something like this in my life. I'm telling you right now, kids are usually not bad, but bad parents guarantee bad kids.
Well, kids become what you allow them to be. Kids become what you allow them to be or what you guide them to be. And I know everyone talk about how laws and rules have changed these days. Nah, if you're consistent, they follow it because a lot of these same players were talking about, I've never had nothing like this. They were the same ones talking about how hard they were working. Wasn't working hard.
Yeah.
They were comfortable. And now they're going to be uncomfortable, which might make them a little bit happier at the end of the season.
No, uncomfortable is what you want to be, on edge. Like the one thing I used to love about Greg Williams, he used to say, guess what? You are the starter for this week. Like, y'all have to earn being able to start. So if you started for Greg Williams for 17 weeks, you earned it week in and week out. We had no S10 starters.
Yeah, I think one of the things that B always pointed out is if guys are not like
last year, every time somebody blew a coverage or got beat deep, they were back on the field the next week. With Greg, they wouldn't have been back on the field.
Yeah.
No, they wouldn't have been back on the field. And he would have stood up and told you at the locker why he wasn't back on the field.